On this webinar today, we're going to give you an overview of some of the cutting edge, groundbreaking innovation that we're building for machine learning, and as you apply it to Arabic and to English. I would like to acknowledge some of our team on the ground in Riyadh, Mahal and Mazoon, who have been instrumental in arranging this virtual meeting today, and also to Chantel and Susan in our offices in Cork in Ireland. I would very much have liked to be in Riyadh today for meetings with various different companies, but unfortunately that has not been possible due to the COVID-19 outbreak, and I do hope that you and all of your families are safe and well in this turbulent time. This presentation will take about 45 minutes, and we will have a question and answers session towards the end of the presentation. So please feel free to ask any questions you feel necessary, and we will address those at the end. In terms of the presentation, we're due to have Dr. Nasser. Unfortunately, he's got some sound issues, but we will have our CTO, Derek, also speaking in the presentation. So Derek, if you can move on there, please. So to kick this off, we find ourselves in a very unusual time in terms of some of the challenges that are facing the industry globally. From a regulatory standpoint, we're seeing that globally in North America, in Europe, and in the Middle East, the regulatory landscape is changing. Specifically to Saudi Arabia, we've seen the introduction of ECC 1 2018, which is requiring Saudi companies to improve their essential cybersecurity controls. And that's designed about building cybersecurity in depth. And as you know, when you invest in cybersecurity technologies, they are designed to protect your people and to protect your data. And as you well know, every company is wrestling with a significant increase in the volume of data that is being created. And a lot of this data falls outside the scope of structured data, and it is in an unstructured format. And it's been created in your data center, at the end user device level, and also in the cloud. From a KSA perspective, we are seeing that the cloud is being introduced a little bit more slowly than elsewhere in the world, but the government are implementing strategic government data centers. And we're also hearing news of Microsoft planning to open a data center later this year. So companies are looking at migrating their compute and storage into various different cloud environments. We are also seeing a significant increase in the volume of cyber attacks. In relation to Saudi Arabia, this is specifically targeting financial services and oil and gas sectors. And a lot of these specific attacks that have been high profile have emanated from Iran. And then you have chief information officers and chief information security officers wrestling with implementation of data loss prevention programs, utilizing very effective technologies such as ForcePoint or McAfee or other technologies that can try and protect unstructured data. So there is a lot of different forces that are actively ensuring that companies have to try and manage the challenges that they have around data. And today we're going to show you some of that technology in action, and we're going to give you just a feel for some of the metrics we are seeing globally as companies wrestle with this. A recent global survey that was conducted provided some pretty stark insights into data as a whole. And on average, every employee has access to over 17 million files. 57% of companies found that they had over 1,000 sensitive files exposed to all employees. 55% of companies found that they had over 100,000 folders within their environment, which were open to every employee. 28% of folders were open to every employee. And then the average company found that more than 500,000 sensitive files were at risk. And some of the metrics that included sensitive files were 19% were accessible by all employees, 59% of organizations had large legacy data repositories or stale data, and 62% of companies found that they had a lot of stale user accounts. So the challenge is significant when you deal with data. And across every sector, we found that the challenge was similar. Some industries, such as government and military, the sensitivity of the files were higher, but nonetheless, the exposure of both files and folders were significant across government, manufacturing, financial, energy, retail, and pharmaceutical. So typically how companies wrestle with this challenge now is that they have two approaches. Number one, they use a specific technology to deal with their legacy data, and that would be their file shares, their data center, their endpoint devices. And these products are designed to help with governance, risk, and compliance mandates, such as the ECC 1 2018, redundant, obsolete, and trivial data, intellectual property protection, and data loss prevention. They require organizations to identify where their data is, to build rules such as regex or dictionary lookup, to run scans, to retune those rules, and then build more rules. It's typically a very laborious and time-consuming challenge. You then have a second problem, and this problem relates around the classification of new data, data which is created on the fly. And that includes emails and new documents, such as Word documents, Excel documents, PDF documents, or schematics. And these documents help with your governance, risk, and compliance mandates. They help organizations tidy up their data, and they help you to visually imprint your documents with whatever tagging an organization wants. And the goal of these products is to help with data loss prevention, and it's to improve the hygiene of your users and how they manage data. But unfortunately, two products present numerous challenges. They make it difficult to manage classification. They require extensive professional services. They often result in failure of data loss prevention. They result in high insider fraud, and they tend to be expensive. So what we have done is we have collapsed the stack, and we have enabled the ability to move all of your classification on legacy data and all of your classification on new data into one product. And that product, Getvisibility, allows organizations to have improved accuracy on their classification, faster results, a significant return on investment, and they have the ability to integrate machine learning across all of their data classification. And that includes both Arabic and also English. And that has very profound benefits for the organization. It helps with the GRC mandate, the compliance mandate, not just for the Saudi mandates, but all international mandates such as ISO 27001 or GDPR. It also helps with redundant, obsolete, and trivial data, and many other benefits that can help organizations streamline their security posture as it relates to data. So I'm now going to hand over to our Chief Technical Officer, Derek, who will go through the demonstration in more detail, and he will give you a live working example of Getvisibility in action. Derek?
Thank you. Thanks, Ronan. I appreciate that introduction. Ronan, I'm also aware that we are getting some interesting questions, so I will continue with the demonstration, and maybe we can pick up with the questions once I'm done with the demonstration.
Sure.
So, to give you an idea of the software, we have got software deployed on endpoints on a laptop. In this case, this Getvisibility solution consists of two pieces of software. It forms a single unified platform, and that software includes the ability to scan the legacy data, as Ronan described on the left-hand side of the previous slide, as well as an agent software which is deployed on laptops. And that takes care of the new data, as on the right-hand side in the previous slide. It's one solution for both problems. And I'm going to demonstrate now the endpoint solution. So on my laptop, which is a Windows laptop, I am busy running Microsoft Word. So I'm going to open that, Microsoft Word, and I'm going to open a document. This is a standard document, but it's unclassified. So part of the challenge of protecting data is to understand how sensitive that data is, so that the correct level of protection can be added to it and can be applied. In this particular case, we have developed software that allows staff to get the correct classification, but also to understand whether their behavior is risky or is exposing the data. And this is very important. So standard classification software without sanity checking opens the possibilities that the staff will get the classification wrong and make mistakes. We have added the machine learning driven sanity checking and assistance during classification. So, for example, at the moment, the system is set up to block me saving and printing from documents such as this. For example, if I try and save this document, you can see that we are warned that the classification needs to be set. This is an important step that will prevent unclassified documents being printed. With the Getvisibility software, I can now classify the document, and you can see that the classification options available to me include the internal classification level from the company, from your company. This can be customized. We support multiple languages as well. All of these tags can be translated into Arabic. The documents can be entirely Arabic or even mixtures of English and Arabic or Arabic and other languages. Our system is very much driven by a multi-language model. In this particular case, I'm demonstrating some English labels. For example, I can select confidential. I've also got compliance tags. Compliance is important for protection of data. If a company is compliant, for example, to GDPR, which is the EU regulation on protecting personal data. Also, there's health information or credit card information. You can select any one of those as a user. However, a big differentiator for us and a very strong point is the fact that machine learning is offering suggestions. The machine learning is offering suggestions. In this particular case, you can see it is suggesting certain configurations of these tags. That's really useful, because the usefulness of this is that the staff member can click on the suggested button and get automatic help and assistance. That's because the machine learning has got an idea of this document. And this is our state-of-the-art proprietary technology. It's looking at the document and it's suggesting tags. The user is free to choose different tags. But the difference between what they choose and what the machine learning thinks is a valuable difference as well. But let me show you how this looks. If I then save those changes, you can see there a header and a footer has been added to the document. We also modify the metadata. But this document is now classified and can be saved safely. That's very valuable. So you've seen how the user was warned to classify, how they were assisted in their classification, and how the classification visually modified the documents so that this protection can now follow the document, whether it's integrated to a DLP platform, DLP being data loss prevention. Data loss prevention platforms are very good at protecting the data from, for example, being copied into illegal or unsafe areas on a laptop. But they need to know what the document is, and we're providing that extra information. So this is Word, Microsoft Word. We also support PowerPoint and Excel. We are also working on the web apps versions for Office 365. But these on-premise, locally installed applications are supported at the moment, and that's really important. I can also show you one more component, and that is Outlook. Email is a dangerous but powerful tool because documents can easily be sent out to other parts of the world outside of the company. So let's have a look at that. I'll compose a new email. I will send it to Muzun, who is part of the NSK team, who are our partner and reseller in Riyadh. And I'm going to send this email, which is now a sensitive email. So this is confidential information that I'm adding to this document now. Okay, so this is an email, remember, and this can contain attachments. There could be data in this email that is very sensitive, and I am attempting to send it without classifying this email. So as a result, I'm being warned that it must be classified before I can send it. This is the first level of protection. So as a user, I've now got that same assistance. You've got the same set of categories that you can try. For example, I'm going to select confidential, non-PII, and I'm going to save that. So this email is now classified. That's the first warning. I have now addressed that as a staff member. Now, if I send this, look at this combination, a confidential document going outside Getvisibility to our NSK partner. This is a potentially dangerous situation that I'm sure you can imagine in your company. If I press send, you can see that we are not allowed to. This is really important. We have stepped in using our software to say that this type of document, or email in this case, cannot be sent to this domain. This is all configurable. Everything can be changed. The rules can be relaxed or made even more strict. The domains can be defined. You can even lock it down to an individual set of email addresses only. So I will show you one more thing. As a staff member in this situation, I might consider that I will reclassify this document to a lower level of sensitivity. This is a potentially dangerous act, and we are capturing this as an audit log in the background. Everything is being audited and can be produced as a report. Oops, I clicked too hard.
Derek, so, if I may interject for one moment, we have one very good question, and it is, does your solution support ECC 1 2018 classification standards as per the government guidance in KSA?
Sure, of course. Yes, our software is completely configurable. When we deploy it in Saudi Arabia, the system will be pre-configured with the standardized set of tags and compliance standards that are relevant for that region. It's customizable, and this means that this solution is directly tailored for your operating and government and regulatory environment. That's a very important point. Thanks, Ronan. Okay, so I've just shown you how an email can be classified and how a document can be classified. I've shown you how the user is blocked in certain dangerous activities. I've also shown you how those emails and documents are visually tagged and modified. And what is so important as well is the ability to look at the reports of what is happening, what is going on behind the scenes. We support detailed reports from our server. This is also deployed as part of our license. And we can produce reports that show blocked emails. This is important so that you can track down which departments are potentially leaking information. This could mean that they need some training, or it could lead to further investigation possibly. It's so valuable to know this is happening. Also, when I demoted my email from confidential to internal, I did what was called a de-escalation. This is potentially dangerous and can actually be blocked completely by our software. But for the demo, I was allowed to do it. And this means that I'm reducing the sensitivity level of a document. That can be a dangerous activity. Reducing the sensitivity means that it's less protected, and it's probably worth doing an investigation. We provide detailed reports around that. You can see who did it, what machine they did it, what time, what the email subject was, who they were trying to send it to, and even the attachments. Very, very valuable report. Finally, for the report, there's the misclassifications. This is a unique selling point for Getvisibility. We're able to tell if a staff member is misclassifying a document or an email. And we're able to do this because we have the machine learning component. The machine learning is looking at the document. It has been trained potentially on your type of data. So this is all operating within your network. No data is being sent out of your network. There are no cloud services involved. the software is running entirely inside your data network. So it's completely secure. And now you're able to tell whether staff are misclassifying data. And this is important because if the staff member is a nominated expert, we can use that misclassification as an improvement or correction. But the majority of staff, we can treat it as a misclassification, and maybe they need some training. We've also got a system in our platform where you can ask for help, and the staff member will be told what the mistake is that they have made, what they should have done, and they can be referred to additional information such as a policy or a procedure. That's very valuable because it's on their mind that they've just been blocked and they've just been warned, and they can be given this extra assistance and guidance, and that's really valuable. So that's our agent activity. Remember, the software is running on laptops, desktops, and we will have mobile phones towards the end of this year, cell phones as well. We are also running software on the server that is able to look at the old legacy data stores, the documents that Ronan mentioned. So it's very important for me to state that we are supporting the Arabic language. We have worked with our partner NSK, who Dr. Nasser is representing, and they have built a master document repository of Arabic documents, which we are using to train our machine learning model. It's ready to go. From day one, after your deployment is completed, you don't need to train the system any further. It is ready to look at your documents. But it can benefit from small corrections because your document set might include some proprietary documents that we've not seen before. And this is a nice, unique selling point because our system learns from your data. It starts off with a really, really good baseline understanding of your documents, but you can improve this by normal staff activity. This is a unique selling point, very powerful. And we also protect the documents. The entire system works anonymously. We have a state-of-the-art data science mechanism for converting documents into mathematical vectors and points in a space. And that's what the system works on. It's completely protected. We don't touch the document once we have looked at it initially. And that's a very, very small time window. So it's a very secure system. It's designed from the beginning with security in mind and protecting your data. I have some screenshots. For example, this is the administrator console that is available to certain trained staff. Training is available from our partners NSK as well for administrating and managing the system. We also have a set of the tags, categories and subcategories, which are available. This is what our machine learning model knows about. It's ready to go. You don't need to train it. It can find these document types for you. And also a quick overview of some results. These are the results from a scan that has been done on a file server. You can see the file, the path. You can see the category and subcategory, whether we found personally identifiable information, which is sensitive and relevant to data protection and policies. And you can also see other metadata. You can also see, if I show you an English version or an Active Directory view of the same data, you can see what file, who can see this particular file. That's very valuable information. You can also see, given a user or a group, what files they can see. And remember, because of the activity on the laptops and desktops, you can see who's interacting with these documents as well. And you can draw reports from all of these. Very powerful. The overall Getvisibility solution is scalable. We can not only scan documents that you keep in file shares or on local drives, but we can also scan any external sources of information, although everything can run in your safe environment inside your firewall, your network perimeter as well. Finally, just to talk quickly about some of the server solutions, and Ronan, I know that you have some points on this slide as well. We can protect intellectual property by finding that data and allowing it to be correctly protected. Once you know where the data is, it's much easier to understand how to protect it. You can also do information migration into document management systems, which might be a new project that you are running. Ronan, would you like to take over from the GRC one?
Yes, absolutely. So what we are seeing specifically as it relates to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is that organizations are trying to adhere to the regulatory environment, specifically the changes that ECC 2018 is looking for, and the security in-depth concept. And that starts off with understanding your data, classifying your data, and then when you understand it and you have it classified, you can implement the necessary controls to protect that data. So over the last 18 months on our various trips to Saudi Arabia, we have met with a lot of the government departments, and they have explained to us the challenges that they have around data. Number one, there is a huge volume of legacy data on their systems. And number two, they are creating new data at an unprecedented level. The government is looking at trying to consolidate that in private government cloud. But the risk of the migration of that data, the duplication of data, stale data, present a lot of challenges. And because of the sheer scale and the volume of the data, the only way that this can be done effectively is to utilize machine learning and artificial intelligence. The initial challenges that we saw when we started on this journey were that there is specific problems and challenges with classification of Arabic. So in order to fix that issue, we started building a master data model in Arabic out of Riyadh, but we have also facilitated the end users classifying the data. So if you go to either a private company or a government organization, they can request their staff to classify that data. They can use machine learning as an oversight, and then they can, at scale, extremely quickly, transform millions upon millions of documents across Arabic and English into a highly sanitized and accurately classified estate. And the benefits from that are substantial across protecting IP, migrating information, adhering to the regulatory environment, migrating to the cloud, whether that is an Azure cloud, which may be opened up in the kingdom, or a government data center. It facilitates that migration very effectively, but also very effectively enables data loss prevention across the chosen provider. And whether that's a force point or a semantic, the accurate classification at both the user level and at the legacy data lake level becomes very powerful. And then it finally helps integrate into your security vendor. So if you have a cybersecurity partner delivering monitoring out of Saudi Arabia, you can help bring the data conversation into the overall InfoSec and cybersecurity conversation. So the use cases are, there's quite a lot. Derek, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ronan. So just a brief overview then of the two main use cases that we have been discussing. One is the automated discovery and classification of large sets of unprotected documents. This diagram shows the process. Using Getvisibility, the documents on the left-hand side, which are unprotected and may never be opened again, or maybe there are millions of documents, as Ronan has mentioned. These are being scanned and classified by the Getvisibility software so that the next time they are opened, they are correctly protected. That's a huge peace of mind for you to know that documents are all being scanned and protected and classified. The other
Derek, I might just jump in and ask a question that has come through. Can the software do data discovery and data inventory and move the data to a single repository or console? Can the software state that in my environment I have 1,000 Word and 1,000 Excel folders, and who owns that data and when the data was last accessed or edited? So
cool.
There's a lot of different points in that question.
That's actually excellent. Yes, our software is doing exactly that. What it's doing is it's discovering data types. So the type of the document is registered in our system. So we have got a central registry of all of your documents once we are completed a scan. And that registry includes the path, the type of document, so we can find your Excel files, your Word files. We've also got a good idea, an excellent idea of the actual content of the document. So it's very granular. We can tell you which of those Excel files are invoices, which are audits, which are registrations or lists of email addresses or lists of policy numbers, lists of schematics, lists of intellectual property. That's very valuable to know because they need to be treated at different levels of security. We've got the last modified date. We can see who has been operating on that specific file as well. And we can calculate who is the author of the document as well. So yes, we can do all of those things that were asked, Ronan.
And also from James O'Connell, creation date for medical and legal retention regulations.
Yes, we've got the creation date, the modified date, and we've also got an audit log of the most recent modifications to the file. That audit log shows who and when, and we've got an entire history of from the point the Getvisibility software is deployed up until when the report is run. We can show who's been interacting with the document. So yes, Ronan, all of the above as well, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. I have one more slide that I'd like to show you, which relates to the assisted verified manual classification. And this is where all of the features come together. You've got the machine learning and Getvisibility. We understand the documents. We also now understand with our agent software who's interacting with the documents as well. We can see who's making incorrect classifications. We can send alerts, or we can automatically correct that. This could mean that staff need more training, or it could mean that that incorrect classification can be reused as an improvement over time as well. So we're learning your data set. And this is entirely safe. This is within your environment, and it's all anonymized as well. So very powerful. We're able to assist the staff and to give them that extra level of education that they need to understand good data governance. So a quick word about a future roadmap item that we are working on, and that is data lineage with blockchain. So I'll be very brief on this before handing back to Ronan. What we're able to do now is, with the information about a document, understanding what is inside the document, and understanding who is interacting with the document on the laptops and desktops, we're able to work out an audit log for every single file. And this actually is similar to the previous question that came in. So this audit log of changes can be maintained in an immutable distributed ledger, which is another word for blockchain. It's an example of one of those. And that distributed ledger can be used by your company to not only do internal audits or internal forensic investigations, but it can be used very valuably as a trusted external reference for a regulator or law enforcement or government agency to say, this is how we look after your data. This is how we look after our sensitive data. And you can prove it because you've got the blockchain. And that blockchain can be verified by different parties. For example, our auditing company, your specific auditor that you use for your company can participate in the blockchain verification. And that means that they're effectively auditing your data behavior. And that is really powerful, and it's a big differentiator for our software. Okay, so Ronan, if I can hand back to you, I think there may have been more questions, but please, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Derek, thank you for that. We're coming up to the 40-minute mark. So in summary, I would just like to touch on some of the unique points of the solution that we have built. We firmly believe that the only way that organizations can deal with the explosion in data is to leverage artificial intelligence and machine learning. Any other approach, in our experience, is futile given the scale and the sensitivity of the data that organizations are creating. So we've built Getvisibility to allow organizations to automate classification using machine learning. But we understand that not every organization will fully embrace machine learning as the truth bearer for the classification of their data. So we have also built manual classification. And in our Synergy product, we are facilitating the ability for end users to classify across multilingual versions of Getvisibility, including Arabic, and also to use machine learning to sanity check and quality control that process. We have seen major global deployments of data classification programs fail because users were not educated enough to classify across a large range of different fields. So we've solved that problem with Getvisibility. By using machine learning as oversight, and that machine learning model is owned and controlled and managed by the organization, it means that they have 95% less false positives, which effectively means the return on investment is significantly higher. It means the ability to educate staff and employees on how they are misclassifying data or how they need to improve their understanding of data is very quick and very efficient, because the machine learning model alerts the oversight team that they need to improve training. As your machine learning gets better, you can apply more automation. And again, that is across both Arabic and English. And you can also very effectively adhere to your compliance mandate. This solution perfectly dovetails with the ECC 2018 approach that is aiming to bring the kingdom to a more robust cybersecurity posture, and to help accurately allow organizations understand their data and then to implement the required information security and cyber security controls around that data. It helps you to evaluate cloud options, and they could be your private cloud options in country. They could be private government cloud options. And it allows you as an organization to embrace the best of both worlds, your manual classification, but also your machine learning. And that process can be embraced and adopted at whatever pace the organization wishes to embrace it. A few very important points that Derek touched on. This entire solution has been architected from the ground up with a security by design methodology and approach. So we never touch your data. Environment. It remains either within your cloud or within your own private data center within Saudi Arabia. So we've architected it to allow organizations to embrace machine learning, adhere to the regulatory mandates that are coming forward from the government, but also to have assurance that their data never leaves and their data remains within their environment. And they can do it across a huge range of different data types, both live data and legacy data. And they can also ensure that once they have it classified, they can implement the proper security controls around that data. So that's it in summary. I'm going to jump into a couple of other questions. I'm sorry, my Arabic is not the best, so I need somebody to translate those for me, Dr. Nasser. If you can see those questions in Arabic, that would be helpful.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Nasser. If you wanted to say a few words.
Yes. Thank you very much, Derek and Ronan, for the presentation. And I would like to apologize for our participant that I was supposed to welcome them in the beginning, but for technical problem, I couldn't. Thank you for participating, and I wish you are all and your family healthy and safe. We would like to have all question that you have now or in the future, you have our email and website and telephones. We will be very happy to answer questions or have comments. I just want to emphasize one thing, that before we come to this stage, I mean having the system developed up to date, we had, as Ronan mentioned, several meetings with governments and private sectors, Chamber of Commerce in Saudi Arabia. At that time, Getvisibility Solution, Getvisibility system was about data classification by machine learning. After all of our discussion, we came to know the need and the urgent to develop the system to read, first of all, Arabic documents, as well as to have it in classifying data manually. So now we have the full solution, the Arabic, reading Arabic documents, as well as having it in data classification, data classification manually and by machine. If you have a question now, we will be happy to answer, whether in English or in Arabic, me or Eric or...
I think, Dr. Nasser, perhaps in Arabic, if you maybe want to tell, we have between 70 and 100 participants on this webinar.
Okay.
If you want to maybe address the audience who's primarily Arabic, in Arabic, and maybe talk a little bit about the investment that we have jointly made in Riyadh to support the rollout of this in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, even though I think everyone joining us is understanding English, but let me welcome you in Arabic.
Yeah, we have a few questions in Arabic asking for Arabic also.
I couldn't see them. I couldn't see the Arabic questions. Are they
available if you scroll to the top
yeah.
of the screen under Q&A?
Okay, okay. I see a question here. Is the presentation in English only? Yes, we have it in English today, but if you have any question regarding any slides, we will be happy to answer. Is there any other Arabic question here besides this?
Yeah, there appears to be a few, if you scroll down. While you're looking for those, Derek, we have another one here saying, how does your solution classify data in both Arabic and in English? Okay. So I guess if you're a government agency and you have, let's assume 90% of your data is in Arabic, but you've 10% in English, how can you train the system to deal with two different languages and provide oversight on those two languages?
Oh, sure. The machine learning software we have developed has got a very early stage where it looks at the document and it converts it into a mathematical point. That mathematical representation, which I won't describe here, is enough to allow us to understand what the document's intention was. It includes a lot of very useful information as a mathematical representation. This is language agnostic. It doesn't matter what language it's in. So the very first stage of our software will look at a document. It will determine very quickly whether to use an Arabic converter or whether to use an English converter or another language. We have different modules that can plug in, and this is how we do the multi-language. Once the document is converted to mathematics, then all the rest of the software is the same. So we treat the documents mathematically as anonymous points from that point onwards. So it's very flexible.
Okay, I have two more questions, Derek. One is, how does your solution work with data loss prevention, and which data loss prevention do you recommend? And the second one is, where does the data sit?
Okay, for data loss prevention platforms, we integrate in two ways. The one way that some providers prefer is that we would write specific informative tags into the document's metadata. So the document is then read by the DLP and it understands the level of sensitivity because it is seeing its own metadata tags that have been added by Getvisibility, almost like an augmentation tool as an assisting supportive tool. The other way, which we use for software like ForcePoint and Microsoft AIP, is to call a specific point in their software and to hand over the document to them, to say this document is this sensitivity and it's this type of document. It has information about users and credit card numbers. We hand the information over based on a predefined, what's called a programming interface. The two pieces of software talk to each other in that way.
Okay.
The second
where does the data sit?
Yes.
So I think this is important because from a secrecy and a regulatory perspective, Saudi Arabia has some strict laws around the technology that can be used and the privacy concerns that go around that data. So can you talk a little bit about how the solution has been architected, how the security by design methodology has been applied, and what type of risks there are to an organization's data if they use Getvisibility?
Sure. So we have taken this right from the beginning as a design goal to protect the data that we are scanning to an extremely high degree of protection. The data that we scan is your documents in your network. The results we obtain stay in your network, and the modifications, if needed by the tagging, are done to your documents and nothing leaves your network. The machine learning models and software updates are provided to you by request and with your approval, and they are applied on your servers that stay in your network. So we are completely aware that not even log data or operational data is taken out of anybody's network. This is entirely a self-contained system that can operate with no internet connectivity. And that is done by design to protect your data and to keep it insulated and protected inside your network. And that's by design.
Okay. We have another question. I'll take this one, Derek, and that is, thank you all. I want to know, can the solution classify history data also? So I assume what you're asking there is, can it classify legacy data, which is your file stores? And the answer is yes. What we have architected and built here is a highly sophisticated platform that attacks data from both sides. It attacks data, the new data that's been created, and works with the users and educates them and helps them to understand what they're classifying. And then the legacy data, which is your file shares and your data stores, or which is often referred to as your data lake, it classifies all of that data at a very granular level, and that can be used for redundant, obsolete, and trivial data. It can be used for intellectual property. It can be used for stale data, so you understand what you can delete or what you can archive. And it classifies that really, really accurately. And what that allows the organization to do is to create a benchmark. It gives them visibility of their data, and then it allows them to understand what type of new data they're creating and what type of legacy data they have. So traditionally, you would have used two products for that problem. You would have used a product for legacy data, and you would have used a product for new data. We provide one product for both, and we use machine learning as the oversight to enable speed, accuracy, return on investment, and the ability to do multiple languages, Arabic, English, French, German, Italian, Spanish, within the one platform. So ultimately, it means that organizations have a more effective and robust data security program, and that aligns very effectively with your regulatory mandates such as ECC 2018.
Ronan, I realize from the questions here that we have speakers who are non-English, speakers, or maybe they did not understand what we said in English. So, could you please just give me a few minutes to explain briefly what we said?
Certainly, please. Okay. Take the stage.
Okay. أسعد الله مساءكم الجميع بكل خير. ابغى بس اشرح بشكل مبسط جدا Getvisibility والبرزنتيشن اللي سويناها للاخوه والاخوات اللي معنا ما فهموا يمكن او ما يتكلمون بالانجليزي. Getvisibility solution, unique solution او سوفت وير فريد يصنف البيانات آليا. هذا اللي كان أولا. تمت مقابلات وزيارات للقطاع الحكومي في المملكة العربية السعودية وفي القطاع الخاص والغرف التجارية، وعرفنا خلال الزيارات أنه يحتاجون إضافتين أخرى بالإضافة إلى تصنيف البيانات آليا. يحتاجون إلى أن السيستم يدرب حتى يصنف البيانات يدويا، وأيضا يقرأ البيانات باللغة العربية. الآن بعد اللي سمعناه منهم، الطلب اللي طلبوه منا، تم تدريب الجهاز أو السوفت وير إلى أنه يصنف كما كان يصنف البيانات آليا، ويصنف البيانات يدويا، وأيضا يقرأ بالإضافة إلى اللغة العربية، اللغة الإنجليزية، يقرأ الملفات باللغة العربية. الآن صار السيستم جاهز، وإن شاء الله بعد الأزمة نقدمه للجهات اللي طلبوا الإضافات هذه. وهو أؤكد مثل ما قال الأخ رونان أنه جهاز وتصنيف فريد يخص شركة Getvisibility، وإن شاء الله أنه نطلعكم عليه قريبا بالثلاث صفات اللي صار يمتلكها الجهاز الآن أو السوفت وير. وإذا في أسئلة عندنا في الفريق في السعودية الأخت مزون والأخ مهل، وأيضا بالإضافة إلى الإخوان اللي هم سوزان وآرتم وشانتيل بالفريق في Getvisibility Island. إذا في سؤال آخر أهلا وسهلا، احنا موجودين والله يحييكم. تحياتي. روnan. Hello, Derek. I tried to summarize everything in maybe 2-3 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Nasser. So, guys, we have reached the 50-minute mark, so we've gone slightly over our time. I would like to sincerely thank all of the participants. We have had over 70 participants on the webinar today. We will be hosting more webinars in the coming weeks for Saudi Arabia, and we will aim to do one of those webinars in Arabic in the coming weeks also. I very much look forward to visiting your beautiful country when this COVID-19 crisis ends. And I hope that you and your colleagues, and indeed all of your family, stay safe and well. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Our information is here on the screen. And again, thank you to Derek, Dr. Nasser, our team in Riyadh, Mahal and Mazoon, our team in Ireland who coordinated this, Susan and Chantel. And again, please don't hesitate to contact us with any questions. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.